Today, a new interview with Edward Snowden was published in the New York Times. The NSA leaker made this admonishment to journalists. In the wake of this year's disclosures, it should be clear that unencrypted journalistic source communications is unforgivably reckless. But last week, the founder of LavaBit, the encrypted email service reportedly used by leaker Edward Snowden, announced the company would be shutting down. In a message posted on the site's homepage, LavaBit owner Ladar Levison said, quote, "I have been forced to make a difficult decision, to become complicit in crimes against the American people or walk away from nearly 10 years of hard work by shutting down LavaBit." Yet the circumstances of the shutdown remain mysterious amidst the controversy over Edward Snowden's revelations that companies are receiving secret U.S. court orders to provide the government with user content. LavaBit's message includes a section explaining how the government stopped Levison from sharing his story and ends with a warning. Quote, "Without congressional action or a strong judicial precedent, I would strongly recommend against anyone trusting their private data to a company with physical ties to the United States." Silent Circle is another encrypted email service provider similar to that of LavaBit, and Silent Circle preemptively shut down its site following LavaBit's closure. The company said it did this in order to prevent NSA spying. I was joined earlier today by Vic Hyder, Chief Operating Officer at Silent Circle, and I started off by asking him why he decided to shutter Silent Circle's email service and what led to this decision.
Well, we made a deliberate decision. It was a difficult one, but with the threats that are out there towards email, the process itself is just inherently not as secure as our standards require. So Silent Circle decided to shut down Silent Mail, our encrypted email service. We're keeping Silent Text, Silent Phone, Silent Eyes, our peer-to-peer encrypted video, voice, and text.
Okay. Now, what do you think the shutter of LavaBit, what that means for encrypted email services?
The shutter of LavaBit?
Yes.
Well, their closing, brought up the conversation. They are the ones that got the knock on the door. We decided to do it before that knock came to us, before we received a letter and were forced to either be complicit in what we say is an invasion of privacy or shut down. So we did it preemptively. And
do you think that letter it would have been a short way away had you not done this?
I think our decision to shut down at 8 p.m. on a Thursday night was critical to our not getting that letter.
Interesting. Now, LavaBit's owner, he was very cryptic on the website. He sent a letter out and posted it on his website to all of his users apologizing, but it was quite cryptic. What do you think actually happened?
Well, I don't want to guess on that, but there are users out there that, good and bad for these services. It's a good service for good people to protect the citizens of the world against the criminals, against the corporate espionage, but there must have been some legal justification to request access.
Okay. Now, does shutting down the site, does that actually protect users from you, the site provider, having to distribute information about them?
Well, yes, it does, because we don't hold any information. The only information that was available was via Silent Mail, and that is the metadata that they talk about in the news, the peripheral information that's coming across in the subject line and the IP addresses, the date, the geolocation, those kind of things. But if you put all that together, it really tells a story. So that is the piece that encrypted mail doesn't cover. It encrypts the message, but not that peripheral data. So we wanted to extricate ourselves from that conversation, allow ourselves to honestly tell our members of Silent Circle that we don't hold your data. We're not able to give anything because we don't have it.
Okay. Do you think any encrypted email service provider is safe today?
Not the way email is processed the way it is right now. We're working on a new completely peer-to-peer encrypted email application that will really modernize and secure the email process. It won't truly be email, but it will look and feel like email. It will give you that ability to send data, to send applications, to send attachments, much like we have with our silent text right now. Silent text is a true peer-to-peer encryption communication process that allows you to have attachments on. You can put a PDF file, a PowerPoint presentation. I've sent over 100 megabytes on one text, and for a 10-minute video that I sent. And that is completely peer-to-peer. Nothing is stored on us. We don't hold it. We have nothing to give up. So the control is in the hands of the customer.
And when do you see this launching, the new email service?
Well, the email service, we're working on it, and we expect to see it here in the next year.
Okay. Some people say that those who turn to encrypted email services are doing bad things. They have bad stuff to send. What do you have to say to that?
Well, the perception of encryption has completely changed in the last 15 years. And when Phil Zimmerman was fighting the fight in the crypto wars, that perception was that if you had encryption and you were a nation state, that you were hiding something, you were some kind of criminal. These days, with all the information you have on your phone, on your devices, on your computers, if you're not protecting yourself, you're maybe a little bit ignorant about the threats. And if you are, then you're seen as maybe a more responsible user.
Do you think the U.S. government is violating the Constitution doing what they're doing?
Well, I won't get deep into that. I mean, my background, I had 24 years in the military. I just got out 2 years ago. I support the Constitution of the United States, and I raised my hand a couple times to that oath. I feel that there is a rising tide of surveillance out there, that we need to push back against it. And it's a responsibility of individuals, it's a responsibility of lawmakers to scrutinize and do checks and balances to make sure that we're not overextending our reach. I understand that the job that the guys are doing, from NSAs around the world to our militaries, but there has to be a balance.
Vic, thank you very much. That was Vic Heider, Chief Operating Officer of Silent Circle.